We crown our champion in our tournament of moves. There will be a major shakeup in who calls the finals this season, and we play a game of what happens first. Will LeBron retire before Bronny starts? Will Paolo Banchero make an All-NBA first team before fellow top pick Cade Cunningham? Find out today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He is a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt.
I watched college football last night. My Missouri Tigers beat up on an FCS team. I watched the Nebraska Cornhuskers actually not blow a late lead, but I got to tell you, I cannot wait to get back to NBA. I'm very excited for the start of the season. Should be an incredibly fun one, even as football gets started.
And for the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Hayes. Hayes.
I love doing this show, and I tell you what's not going to be on my favorite things of the week. Just a little hint towards later on.
All right, good tease. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But coming up, but first, I want to talk about what we've been working on for the past several weeks. We have been doing this, I don't know how many weeks at this point, 2, 3, 4. We have been trying to determine the best signature move in NBA history, and now we are finally down to our championship matchup. It is art versus dominance, and I love that we spent 3 weeks to get to this championship to decide between the two number one seeds, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Skyhook versus Hakeem the Dream and his Dream Shake. The YouTube vote is in, and it is 58% to 42% in favor of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Skyhook. That's the YouTube vote. Matt and Hayes get a vote. We're going to get to their votes a little bit later, but I just want to sink into this matchup a little bit. It's the Skyhook, it's the Dream Shake, it's art versus dominance. Set this thing up for us, Matt. I mean, how do you look at this matchup when you're trying to determine who you want to vote for?
Well, I think one is, it's like the encapsulation of technique, right? There's nothing more precise than, I think, Hakeem's dream work. There's a reason that so many centers have gone to learn from Hakeem, because his understanding of footwork, of balance, of positioning, of where to get your center of gravity, how to shift it, about how to shoot off balance, all of those things. It's what puts this move into this conversation. And for the Skyhook, it's here because Hayes made a really terrible decision. So we're here with the Skyhook once again with a cheap gimmicky move that was mostly employed versus cocaine users in the 70s, up against truly one of the most iconic moves from the greatest center of all time.
Hey, shots fired. You have to respond.
No, see, Matt puts himself in a situation where he makes it easy for me to, quite frankly, piss him off. So I tread lightly there, friend. Tread lightly there.
Shot for your life, Hayes. Are you going with the Skyhook or are you going with the Dream Shake?
Skyhook.
Matt?
For my life, shot for my life, the Skyhook.
Shot for your
just
life,
because I don't think there's many people who can actually guard the Skyhook. So if it's like my life's on the line, I'm going to go with the Skyhook because it's going to be pretty. At least, even if he misses it, at least I go out on a pretty shot. There you go. That's the way I look.
Am I getting guarded by like elite defenders or like drug-addled guys named?
I mean, if we're talking about modern NBA or modern time, there's a lot of people on a lot of drugs right now, man. A lot of drugs right now.
That's certainly true. Here's a good question. Okay, here's actually a really fun one, Hayes. Draymond Green, you're up in the post and you're facing Draymond Green. Now, Draymond's not the biggest guy, but he is elite at disrupting your dribble, pushing you out of position, and making your life a living hell. Which one of those moves has a higher success rate versus Draymond Green, the Skyhook or the Dream Shake?
Oh, I wanted to piss you off so bad. I'll say the Dream Shake. I'll answer it. I'll answer it truthfully. Probably the Dream Shake.
Probably the Dream Shake. I think it's a really interesting kind of way to think about it. One of the things I think is interesting about this entire exercise is just like looking at what makes some of these moves so incredible is how difficult they are, which means that they're inherently going to be low probability. Like Dr. J, if he tries that move 100 times, is not going to pull it off at the end. Now he pulled it off a lot because he was incredible, but he's not going to pull off that specific move all that often versus Kareem was like so consistent. But if we're going with consistency, then you're going to have to go with either Steph Curry's 3-pointer or you're going to have to go with something like the Tim Duncan bank shot. So in this era in which we look at efficiency, and like I do think efficiency matters, and people really sneer at that word. I'm like, it's just whether you make the shot more often than you miss. And I think that Kareem's Skyhook had an extremely high level of consistency and conversion rate because it was at its very nature unguardable based off of where the game was at the time. But I do kind of wonder just like, what does that look like in the modern context as defenses have evolved? And I keep coming back to, I don't think that you could solve the dream shake. I just don't think you could solve it as well. And maybe that's like an interesting question to take forward from this is these moves, we did judge them on aesthetics, like how cool are they? How awesome are they? But I do think if we're going to get, because they're all pretty freaking awesome, if we get past all that, what's the most effective move? And I do think that matters when the goal is putting the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, what do you think about that,
this,
Hayes?
Matt? How many? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doug.
No, I was just wondering what you thought about what Matt had said there.
No, I was going to follow up and ask Matt. Okay, Matt, how many one-on-one in the post? How many people do you think in the modern NBA right now could guard the Skyhook?
It's an interesting question. So I think the question is just like, who's got the ability? This is what I keep wondering is who's got the strength to be able to push him out of position? Mm-hmm. Because when you go back and you watch, you're just like, you are really pretty, like when I went back and I watched all these Skyhooks, like I was pretty amazed that everybody was just like, well, there he goes again. No elbow on the hip, no shoving him out of position, no work to get him out of his comfort zone. Like I learned this from talking to Andre Iguodala, that the biggest thing is you can't let guys get to that spot. You got to not let him get to that spot. And everybody was just like, whatever you want, Cap. And that was not true for Hakeem's dream shake. I'd have to go through you know what'd be really funny though is watching Kyle Lowry try and flop against the Skyhook would be absolutely amazing. Like the true flop artist in our Lou Dort. Imagine Lou Dort's flop efforts versus the Skyhook and what that would look like. Because that, I think, is really what we're talking about in a lot of these instances.
I think when you go back and look at the highlights, some of the guys that had extreme length, like Wilt and Bill Russell, they decided to just like try to anticipate it a little bit, like and not go up at him because they knew that Kareem would get it outside of their comfort zone. So they would just take their chances with the goaltend. Like when you look at the sort of compilations of the Skyhooks that were blocked in history, like half of them are goaltends.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know, man. I think I get it. I get it. The level of competition that you're talking about. I completely understand that point, but I still think, like, not to say that either one would be easy to guard, but I don't think that the Skyhook would be too much less impactful or unguardable in the modern NBA, to be 100% honest with you. Yeah, you have people that are stronger and that you do have more length and in combination of that, but I don't know. I really do think the Skyhook would still be an extremely impactful. Like, for example, I know we talked about this a little bit over the course of this tournament. Like, if Wemby was to learn the Skyhook, it'd be unguardable again in the modern NBA. He's just too long. I don't think anybody could guard.
But who gets it stolen from the weak side more? I think that's an interesting question here. Is like,
that's true.
If you held down on Kareem, whose dribbles was better? Do you think whose post dribble was better? Like, this is where we're at with this level of like, as much as I can take these shots at Kareem's Skyhook, and I do think it should have gotten upset several rounds ago. Like, it is an incredible move. It is absolutely amazing. But I do think that the question of it's never just like the shot. It's about everything that leads into it. And that to me is like so much of this. It's like, I love all the little work that guys do to set guys up for moves, right? It's the little shoulder fakes. It's the way that Jordan was able to reposition things to get himself into that spot where he wanted to be for the baseline fade. It's like all of these small things, I think, that make these moves so iconic, on top of just like the camera panning up to see the hook. Look, most of this might just be that my dad actually had a pretty mean Skyhook and absolutely brutalized me with it in horse.
Okay, now we figured it out.
Now we figured it out.
That might have just been it.
The conversation on YouTube and the YouTube vote has really gotten away from Kareem versus Hakeem and really into an old heads versus young guys conversation. Evan commenting, too many old heads. One of the fadeaways at least should have made it. MJ's got dispatched in the Final Four, Kobe before that. I'm a LeBron fan too, but when I was a kid and I needed to create space for a shot, I worked on that post turnaround fade like my life depended on it. And to this day, it's my go-to. And then a lot of people jumping in and replying to that there's nothing wrong with being an old head. Old equals wisdom equals knowledge, and knowledge is power. So I think there will be some people that look at this and go, yeah, these were the 2 number 1 seeds. Yes, they have the most branding, the most history, but maybe one of those other moves from MJ or Kobe or from a different era should have been included.
What's the move, Hayes, that like you walked away with like a better appreciation for? Because for me, it was Tim Hardaway Jr.'s crossovers, the UTEP 2-step. Like going back and watching that, I was just like, God, this was sick. Like his ability to manipulate the ball was incredible. Was there a move that you came away with like a better appreciation of?
I mean, the UTEP 2-step is definitely up there. I would say I'd say just going over and looking at Dirk's one-legged shot more off, like to actually break it down, gave me appreciation for it too. But I think it like just from where I was then, and this does come with being an old head and aging and appreciate the game more. Tim Duncan, the bank shot. Like I if you would have asked me that if we would have had this vote 5-8 years ago, there's no way I would have voted on it when I did. But like, I think that's a shot that I just appreciated everything that went into that, and the calculations that had to go into to hit that at that rate as much as he did over his career.
Okay, we've talked enough about it. It's time to decide. The YouTube vote has gone in favor of Kareem's Skyhook. Matt, we'll start with you. What's your vote?
If Kareem primarily did the Skyhook and never went to Los Angeles, what do we think of this move? We don't think of it the same way. We just don't. It's like, oh yeah, Kareem had that nice Skyhook. That's cool. He was successful back in Milwaukee. I'm not denying that, but Hakeem's dream shake to me was against the top level of competition at that position throughout all of NBA history. There was never a better period of centers than the 90s. You could say there were better centers if you want to go with Russell or whoever, but there was never a better period of competition at the center spot than the 90s. And Dream cooked everybody, and he cooked them in a million different ways with that move. It is about the best fundamentals of basketball, about maintaining your dribble, about knowing when to pick it up, about keeping that pivot foot down, about all the ways to manipulate it, about body positioning and weight and strength and size and skill and speed and agility and the touch to be able to hit those shots. It's the dream shake. That's the best move of all time.
Poor David Robinson. He's just on so many highlight packages getting absolutely eviscerated.
And he's like one of the greatest shot blockers in NBA history.
I agree. All right, Hayes, that means you are the tiebreaker. You get the honor of deciding the greatest move, signature move in NBA history. The floor is yours.
So this is more difficult than what I expected it to be coming into it. I have an appreciation for the Skyhook, clearly, as Matt blamed it on me that it made it this far, because I do think that this is an iconic move, and that's what we're doing. It's not even necessarily the best move. It's the most iconic move. I think that's a determination that has to be made in this tournament, is that you're not looking at it for it. Well, you can really depend on what you and how you value it. And I still view the Skyhook as an iconic, like you can take a picture of Kareem doing that Skyhook, a silhouette of it, and people who are casual basketball fans would know it. And I guess you could say that's the same thing for the Dream Shake to a degree, but I do think there is more casual appeal also to the Skyhook, which leans me to going that direction. And then my lovely co-host Matt decided to call me out at the beginning of the show, so I'm going to vote for the Skyhook.
All right, there you go. Congratulations to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The Skyhook wins. I'm sorry, Matt. Unfortunately, I don't have a vote. I can't re-tie it up and send it back to YouTube. But the voters win here because they had it at 58% to 42%. Thank you to everyone that participated, by the way, and voted in all of these matchups and stuck with us here through this tournament to decide the champion. Wow, I can't believe we're finally here. Coming up on Locked On NBA, we move on. We've got some news and notes from around the league, and we play a game of what happens first. Is LeBron going to retire before his son, Bronny James, starts a game for the Los Angeles Lakers? Will Paolo Banchero or Cade Cunningham make a first-team All-NBA first? Find out. Coming up. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with your friends or your family? Of course you have. Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money that you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. That's cool. Again, that's LockedOnPodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. We're going to play a game of what happens first in just a moment, but we did get a little bit of news in this news desert that is early or late August, early September in the NBA. ESPN is replacing Doris Burke on the primary NBA broadcast team with Tim Legler. Burke signed an extension with ESPN, but will move to the second team. Matt, what are your thoughts on this move?
This is tough. I think overall, I actually am not a fan of this move. I would have liked to have seen Legler and Burke. So much of this gets into, I was talking with people yesterday about this, some like educated, like real hardcore fans, which is like who you should care about when you talk about NBA and not casual fans that might like the Skyhook. And so I was talking to them about how I think there was like an ESPNification of Doris where she started like kind of shouting out more like one-liners and repeating narratives and feeding off of social media. And I was kind of like, yeah, but like that's the direction of production. Like that's management. And like this is like the core problem with all of ESPN. It's like if you can ensure me that Tim Legler is going to get to talk basketball, then great. I would rather it be Legler and Burke rather than Richard Jefferson, who I like, but I do think that Richard Jefferson actually might be a better B team guy. I would like to see him with like a consistent co-host. I don't necessarily think that Burke deserved the demotion, and I don't think it sends a great signal of taking the first woman announcer, having reached this position, and then demoting her after a year. I just don't find that to be like the best way to go about this. Like all of these options are better than Mark Jackson. I don't know why we're complaining.
Mark Jackson shade at the end of that I was not expecting. I actually enjoy Mark Jackson as an announcer, but here's the thing: Doris Burke, I think, for us, I have an appreciation for, like, this generation has an appreciation for Doris Burke. But like, for example, my son, who's about to be 20 years old, he can't stand Doris Burke on the announcement, and he just doesn't like her style. He doesn't like the traditional. It's not the big personality. Not to say that Tim Legler's that guy either, but he just doesn't like it. And so maybe that's what this move is. I don't know if Tim Legler tracks better with the younger audiences or not. I do think it is a weird precedent to be set because she got the promotion. She deserved it. She's been doing this for so long. She's really good at this, but I guess ESPN in the time where there are going to be so many more games on and so many networks between Amazon, NBC, everybody's broadcasting games. Maybe your broadcast team is going to give you what they feel is going to give them a leg up for people to watch their broadcast over another. It's the only thing I can think about.
All right, let's move on. Let's know what you think on YouTube, youtube.com/@LockedOnNBA about that move. But we're going to move on to a game of what happens first. You never know. I just want to get your opinions on some things before, because you got to live like there's no tomorrow, right? So what happens first, Matt versus Hayes? What happens first? LeBron retires or Bronny starts a game? Hayes, what happens first?
I'd say Bronny starts a game just because I don't think LeBron's going anywhere anytime. I think we got another 2 or 3 years of LeBron.
Matt?
I think LeBron retires. I actually think that he's probably like it's this year and then he's done.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I just think he's getting to the point where I think he's wondering more and more if he wants to do this. I just think that once you start getting into that, I just think he's moving into a different part of his life. Like he's been transitioning. He keeps talking about like how ooh, like I want to compete for another championship, blah, blah, blah. But then you stay with the Lakers. That doesn't track. And if that's where your decision making is, then you've already started the process of retiring.
All right, what happens first? Kobe's 81 points record gets broken, or most points in a game in regulation, which stands at 173. Which happens first, Matt?
Most points in regulation because of pace and the speed of the game. I was looking at like seconds per possession the other day and across time, and the changes are actually like really remarkable in terms of how much faster the game is. And you wonder if that's part of the injury problem as well. We're also moving, I think, away from an isocentric kind of approach. We're moving away from guys like Harden. We're moving away, like Luka's still there, but the last couple of champions, Nuggets, Celtics, Thunder, have been pretty egalitarian. Shea was high usage, but it didn't feel that way. It wasn't like every single possession is just him dribbling the air out of the ball. And that's going to make it harder, I think, for guys to catch Kobe's 81. We've had some guys take a shot at it, but I think we're actually going to move away from that. On top of, if the NBA makes rule changes over the next 10 years, they're all going to be geared towards helping the defense. So I think that's going to be tougher. And you say, well, what about how's that going to help the other thing? Well, you can make changes, but then two teams can still just decide not to do that collectively. And so I do think the most points in the game in regulation will get broken first.
Ace.
Yeah, I agree with Matt there. I think for all the reasons, like the pace of the game, more points are being scored, 3-pointers. I'd say that's broken before Kobe's record.
So the active player with the most points right now is Luka Doncic, 73 points in 2024 with Dallas. Dame Lillard, 71. Donovan Mitchell had a 71-point game in 23. Embiid had a 70-point game in 24. Devin Booker in 2017. That's an interesting name because you think he might be doing a little bit more scoring without KD there next season. So that's someone to look out for. I think Luka does it. I'll just say I disagree with both of you. I think Luka breaks 81 at some point in his Lakers career before 173 goes down.
The only way I see that at 81 happening is if Steph gets on a heater towards the end of his career and they're just feeding Steph the ball.
A ceremonial
I think Steph could do it. Yeah.
Steph wouldn't want to, though.
That's true.
Like Luka would want to. Steph would be like, I'm good.
Point.
He would like try and get to 80 and then be like, I'm good.
All right, let's do one more.
Trae Young doing it against New York in Madison Square Garden.
Could see that. If it's going to happen, it's going to be at MSG for sure.
All right, one more before we go to the last segment. What happens first? Two things that Adam Silver has talked about over this offseason: expansion or a rule change regarding three-pointers. Hayes, which happens first?
Expansion. I don't think there's going to be a major rule change to three-pointers. I think the game's going to eventually adapt. So I'd say expansion happens first. I think expansion happens within the next 5 years.
If we talk about it within the context of rule changes geared around the three-point problem, I think that we're going to see some sort of rule change. I just don't think they're going to actually change the three-pointer. I don't think we're going to see any of the nonsense proposals that have come up. The part of the reason I lean that way is expansion. Silver finally said they were going to look at it, but look at the ownership changes that we're seeing. Look at the number of owners that are selling. This does not feel like a time when they're going to want to give up shares or they're going to want to bring in more people. Like, the economy is not in a place for them to do this. They should have done it several years ago. So I'm a little skeptical now. After being pretty confident it was going to happen, I'm a little skeptical this is actually going to get done.
All right, coming up, we'll do a few more rounds of what happens first because I have some interesting ones on blocks in a season record or assists in a season record. We still got to do the Paolo versus Cade one. So let's do a few more of those on the other side coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, it's almost here, tantalizingly close. And FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sunday. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. Continuing our game of what happens first. Blocks in a season record or assist in a season record. I'm not going to tell you the numbers yet or the players that have this record. You may know. And I feel like we've had a somewhat similar conversation before, but I want to have it again. I'm not going to tell you the numbers yet, but just based on the idea of blocks in a season record, assists in a season record, based on the players that could do both of those things in the league. Matt, what do you think? Which one of those records goes down first? I'll let you re-answer once I tell you the numbers.
Yeah, tell me the numbers.
Well, I want your gut feeling, and then I'll tell you the numbers.
Assists. I'll go assists. I think assists is the answer. I think just when we look at the way that the game is played now, like we live in an assist society, and I don't think we live in a block society. So I'm going to go with the assist record.
Hayes, what do you think? Gut feeling.
I'll go blocks. Wemby's in the league. I'm going to go blocks.
Interesting.
Okay, so the blocks leader is the great Mark Eaton from the Utah Jazz, and the number stands at 465. Wemby, if he played, let's just say he plays 75 games, Wemby would need to average over 6 blocks a game in order to get to Mark Eaton's number. It is amazing. The 7'4" monster in Utah, Mark Eaton, the great Mark Eaton. The assist record is, I don't have the exact number, but it's over 1,100 assists. It's by John Stockton. And in order to accomplish that, again, we'll just set the baseline at 75, although that's a pretty high number these days for the bigger stars in the league. Somebody that played 75 games would have to average nearly 15 assists per game. So I think it's still assists, though, because 6 blocks per game is absurd.
What's the number on the blocks?
It's 465.
465. So the most blocks Wemby's had in the season so far is 254. And that was playing 71 games and almost 30 minutes a game. So
yeah, I mean I don't think either one's going down. Just with you have to play 82, and you have to have like such a high level of either. The part of the problem with the blocks is like with so many 3-pointers, Hayes, like there's not enough opportunities.
That's true.
Even when he's blocking threes, like there's not enough opportunities. With the assists, God, 15 assists. I'm trying to think of a player that would actually come in and be like, I want to get 15 assists per game.
Yeah, it's and exactly because that would, I think, require them not to score as much. And I feel like you have to be valuable as a scorer these days
because guards are still going to have the ball, and Steph Curry killed all that. Like Steph Curry killed like pure points. He killed it. They're all dead.
Number slightly wrong on the Eaton blocks record. It's 456. I reversed the 6 and the 5 there. He averaged 5.56 blocks per game in the year 1985. A few more here. What happens first? Paolo Banchero or Cade Cunningham makes first team All-NBA? Hayes.
Cade.
It's Cade this season.
Whoa. Yeah, you're big. You're going all in on Cade, Matt.
Cade by far. Like it's Cade for sure.
All right, what happens first? Clippers reach the Western Conference Finals, or they decide to blow it all up and redo the whole thing? Matt.
Blow it up. There's a clear timeline with how their contracts are structured. I will never believe that the Clippers will actually be able to put together a run with Kawhi Leonard as their best player without a better supporting cast of leadership.
Yeah, I'd agree with Matt there because it has to be so much. It's not just about the Clippers going on some run to get to the Western Conference Finals. They also have to bet on Kawhi Leonard to stay healthy. And that's in of itself is already such a difficult bet to make. So, yeah, I'd say blow it up is more likely to make it in Western Conference Finals.
I love the conversation that Ty Lue recently, head coach of the Clippers, had on the Shannon Sharp's podcast. And they were talking about the practices back in Ty Lue's day versus how they practice now. And Ty Lue was somewhat softly lamenting that they don't get to practice as hard, like full contact in between games like they do. And then Ty Lue slips in, but also I can't walk. Like guys in my generation, we can't walk anymore. So I just love that there is still a little bit of mission of like, yes, we probably went harder and played a little bit better and we're more practiced and more organized, but also we can't walk. So there's sacrifices. It's all that.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think that's like he's exaggerating, like he's not exaggerating. If you go to I've been to All-Star, if you go to the Hall of Fame or even just like hang out at All-Star weekend, you see these legends walking around. Like you see the toll the game takes on him, man. Like the game does take away from your long-term health and something to keep in mind when we're judging these players for how much money they make.
All right, it is Friday. We end every Friday with our favorite things of the week. I toss it to Matt. What's your favorite thing of the week?
I don't have one, Doug. I don't have one this week because something has given me news that is so bad. But I will say my favorite thing this entire year has been doing this show. I have loved doing this show. And the show is not going anywhere and it's going to continue. But I've been a part of like 18 different podcasts. This has been my favorite one I've ever done. I love the format. I love the execution. I love the personalities. I love seeing these guys and talking with them every single day. Doug has been unbelievable in the work that he has done on this show. So my favorite thing of the week is my favorite thing of the year. And that was getting to do this show each and every day. And I'm so glad we get to do it going forward and that there will be no major changes to that.
Hey, is your favorite thing of the week?
My favorite thing of the week is, getting to do this show. This show has been great, and stuff's been going on, but it's been great to be able to talk basketball and have great conversations with two guys that I really appreciate and respect a lot. Like, doing the show has been utterly amazing. So it's my favorite thing of the week. Doing the show 5 days a week.
All right. I will forego my favorite thing of the week for one final note. This will be my final show as host of Locked On NBA. I won't get too self-indulgent here, but I'm so thankful to David Locke for giving me the opportunity to help build this show into what it has become and what I know it will continue to be. I'm so very proud of what Matt and Hayes and I established here, and Matt so eloquently and Hayes eloquently put it before me. I'm very sad to leave, but I'm equally excited that I get to stay with the network as part of Locked On Hornets and continue to watch this show grow and thrive. Thank you to all the people that left kind comments and supported my nonsense this season. Again, you can still catch me on Locked On Hornets, and I'm sure you will see a clip of me on the show every now and then. Last and most importantly, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Hayes. You made my job infinitely easier every single day by being smart, by being entertaining, and most importantly, being my friend. So thank you very much.
Well, that was fun. No
I didn't
more
want my
Doug
glasses today
nonsense.
because I didn't want to see it.
It's going to be all petty all the time, starting Monday, folks.
The dam is broken.
Nothing
The
but
Petty
petty.
NBA podcast.
Just Locked On Petty. That's what we're doing next.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise every single day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. Until next time, be kind to each other. And Matt and Hayes, we'll see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.